Hey guys, it's been a long time. Uh, so I thought that I would go back to an old, uh, some of the older ways that I used to do this, which was going through some of the most popular web inquiries that we've had recently, just to kind of give you all an idea of what's out there and what people have been asking us, what is interesting people these days, and what questions, and maybe some of you had a question about the same. So recently, the most common question we've had is regarding aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And when I say the most common, I mean in the sample that I ran, that was the most often offense that was inquired about. And one of the most interesting conversations I had with a potential client was what, and it was funny because the guy on the phone actually wanted to argue with me about a deadly weapon. And his question was specifically, what is a deadly weapon? And my answer to him was literally almost anything. Um, it's not, the penal code doesn't say anything, but quite literally, if you go through the cases, the things that have been found to be a deadly weapon are almost limitless. So it's basically anything that if you were to strike someone with and it could cause an injury, then that can be considered a deadly weapon. Just like in cases involving automobiles, and we've had this, the jury can be asked to enter a finding that the vehicle was a deadly weapon. So, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon is exactly what it sounds like. It means that someone is accused of attacking or at least threatening someone with some object and caused physical pain, physical damage with that object, and so it is now an aggravated assault, making it a felony rather than just a misdemeanor assault had there been no weapon involved. And like I said, there's not a definition specifically of a weapon for this offense. It's anything that, if used, could inflict bodily harm. So and if you want more specifics on ag assault with a deadly weapon, I'm sure I've made a blog about it in the past, which will give you the penal code section and everything. It's 22.02. You can look it up and read it. The next subject that was most asked of us recently was about possession of a controlled substance in Texas. And the most common call we get is someone wants to know what level of offense the substance they had or are being charged with, what level of an offense is that. Most of the calls we get are for felonies involving the more serious controlled substances, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines. Methamphetamine still seems to be the most common charged here in Galveston County. If you read the newspaper here, you'll see that there has been an uptick in fentanyl cases in our county, which fentanyl is extremely dangerous and leads to oftentimes death. And fentanyl is starting to be on the uptick. But I believe, at least in my office, the most commonly charged controlled substance is still methamphetamine. Someone asked me what percentage of domestic violence cases get dismissed. And to be honest, I don't have the answer. You would have to answer that. I guess you would have to go through the district clerk's site and see how many were filed in a certain time period, and then check the disposition of each of those cases to determine what the percentage is. But the problem with that is there are so many different reasons any case can get dismissed that I don't know what that percentage would get you, what knowledge that would get you, because it's not always the same reason that cases get dismissed, especially in domestic violence. It could be a situation where the parties have reconciled and it was a misunderstanding involving alcohol and the victim no longer wished to prosecute. There's just so many possibilities that I can't answer that without doing a whole bunch of research that I'm not really willing to do, because I don't know what value it gives to know that information. So the next most popular calls we get, well, one of the most popular that we always get is DWI. Another of the most popular we always get is assault, family violence. The assault family violence cases tend to pick up a lot, as I've said before, on holidays and whatnot. But I've done blogs on assault family violence. I've done blogs on how to withdraw charges. We get that inquiry a lot. We get calls and emails a lot from victims, and their call or email is, I had my spouse, partner, friend, whatever, arrested for domestic violence. How do I now drop those charges? And of course, it's once the charges have been filed, it's out of the victim's hand and into the state of Texas. So, but we do get those inquiries sometimes on a weekly basis. Okay, what was the next one? Oh, we get a lot of calls on expunctions, and I'll throw non-disclosures in there too, but we get a lot of calls. I've gotten 2 emails this week from people wanting to know how could they expunge their conviction from a very long time ago. One of them was 19 years ago, specifically because he wants to now be able to carry a weapon. And it's now gotten to the point that every time we get a call for an expunction, I can't give you a general answer over the phone without looking up your case. I have to know how the case was disposed. That becomes a lot harder on cases that are 19 and 20 years old, because the records aren't always available online for me to click and look at the judgment, look at the disposition, see what the language was in the order that disposed of your case. And so it's getting more labor intensive on some cases to try and figure out if someone is entitled to an expunction or not. But I did find it interesting that I got 2 calls or 2 emails in the same week, exact same issue, 2 separate people wanting expunctions specifically so they could now carry a weapon. Those were the most popular. There's not much going on locally to talk about except for this coming weekend is the biker rally. Starts Thursday and I guess goes through Sunday. So just like any other holiday event, we will likely see an uptick in alcohol related arrests over that period. The during the biker rally, we do not often see crimes of violence or anything like that. Usually what we see is an uptick of intoxication offenses. But again, it's just like July 4th or any other big holiday weekend where people come to town and drink all day and then make bad decisions. But I haven't been on in a while, so I just wanted to pop in and give you all an update, and that's all I got for this week. I'll think of a more exciting topic to come back maybe next week. Y'all have a good weekend.